when I started making all these videos about what I would call the truth, I mean, essentially it's an opinion, but everything's really an opinion. Everything's an opinion. I got a kick out of it because I had a woman message me once, not long ago, and she said, "Do you have any books that I can give to my husband about the flat earth that are legit? Because he told me that he's only willing to look at legitimate books." And I started laughing. I said, what does that even mean? Legitimate books? Like, you have, what does that mean? There is no such a thing. Everything is an opinion. Down to scientific research. Who are the scientists? Is it government funded or not? Because once it's government funded, it comes into question. The government only funds something if it is in their favor, if it helps them. How do people not understand this yet? Like, they take over things like the food pyramid, and then we learn years later that it's not even close to being correct. So how are we putting faith into any of this stuff? Okay, we have pharmaceutical companies that said that OxyContin was not addictive and got millions of people addicted. Millions of people have died, created an unbelievable epidemic. Okay, but we still put our stock into these places, into these companies, into this government, into all this bullshit, and it just blows my mind. It really does. It boggles my mind. So again, what is legitimate? What does that even mean? Everyone, if it's a book that's been written, that means it's been written by a man. So what makes that man legitimate? Okay, I don't know. You figure that out. That's for you to figure out. But I think really what intelligence is if you're willing to learn and you're willing to listen. Because I don't give a shit who gives me the information. If I'm getting information from somebody and that information actually works out, like I take the information in, I say, okay, this is this information, and then I start to try it, I apply it. Somehow I find a way, apply the information, and then realize, wow, that information works. That's good information. That I don't care who tells me. I don't care. Honestly, I prefer not to get my information from some famous person or someone like that. I don't want my information from them in most cases. I don't care if the person giving me the information is a doctor, got a master's degree, is a lawyer, has a bachelor's degree, went to freaking cosmology school. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I don't care who gives me the information, because that information will be processed through my brain, and then I'm going to try it, test it, see if it works. And if it works, then it's good information. Like, the process is simple, and it's the same no matter who's giving you the information. So it doesn't matter. So, it's sad, because if that's the way this man feels, like, oh, I need to look at who wrote the book. Do they have a doctorate? It's like, if that's the way that person is, then that person's never gonna learn anything, because they don't want to learn anything. They just want to pretend. They want to pretend like they know everything, and they want to put people on pedestals and play this little game. And they don't want to learn, period. Doesn't make a difference. And that's just the way it is, So I don't particularly want anybody to trust anyone. I tell people specifically, do not trust me. Don't trust anyone. Listen to me, please. Listen to my research. Go download my free books. Watch some of my videos and see if what I say makes sense. Do more research. Go to the library and double check and make sure what I'm saying is true, and do all of that stuff, because that's what I did when I was learning different things from different people. I would listen to so many lectures, just thousands of hours of lectures, and with a notebook, and just write down everything, and then go to the library and double check it. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. I met my wife at a library. She was a librarian when I met her 6 years ago, and I was going in there and just everything, just checking everything that I wrote down. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out, like, who can I trust? What information is good? What works? What doesn't? What makes sense? What doesn't? You know, and then going through the history and trying to learn. But if you want to learn and you're willing, again, willing is huge. Willing is the whole damn part of learning. You know, I mean, part of it is how much does your brain, how much space is there in your brain for information? And do you have a decent memory? If you have a decent memory, then all it is willingness to learn. And the more you learn, the better your memory is going to get. You know, the more you use your brain, the smarter you're going to become. Because it's like anything else in this world. Okay, if you lift weights all the time, you're going to probably look pretty good. All right, if you play hockey 24/7, I'm going to guess you're going to be a pretty decent hockey player. You know, if you play the drums all day long, you're going to be a good drummer. If anything you do all day, and there's a book called Outliers, and they prove that 10,000 hours of something makes you an expert in that something. Doesn't matter where you did the 10,000 hours, what school you went to, if you went to one at all, doesn't matter. 10,000 hours is 10,000 hours, period. And another thing, school is Masonic, first of all. I could talk to you for an hour about school and where the whole idea of school comes from, because it comes from secret societies, it comes from the Vatican. School. It comes from the College of Cardinals, which was the way that they had to, you know, they had to educate these people to become cardinals in order to pick a pope. And the pope, the word for pope is papa, and the word papa means door. Now the cardinals, a word for a cardinal in Latin means hinge. So the cardinal is the hinge to the door, to the papa, so that the Pope can open the door for you to speak to God. So he's the papa or the pop, you know, he's your papa. And all these words have a meaning, and the whole existence of the Vatican and the system of the Pope is in place. He's sitting in place of Jesus right now. Because they, back in the day of the Emperor Constantine, okay, and, you know, the fall of Constantinople and all of that stuff, you have Constantine, who wanted to have ultimate control over and ultimate sovereignty over the mind of the population of the people. And he knew that eventually he would be gone, and eventually, you know, people die. So he knew, how can we keep control for thousands of years? And they developed a religion. They turned an idea. So they turned the man, Yeshua, okay, into a god. Because if you are worshiping a god and waiting for a god to come back to the earth, then you can put somebody in his place to represent him. And the Pope is in place of Jesus to represent Jesus until Jesus comes back. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords until Jesus comes back. And you have to understand too why they changed his name to Jesus in the first place, because Yeshua was a Jewish name, all right? And the Romans back in the day, they didn't want anything to do with any of that, so they changed the name. There were no J's back then, and that goes deep. But the whole story with the whole Pope and how it's set up and the whole system, I talk about that in deep. You know, I can go very deep into that to make it make more sense. But everything, you know, goes back to the Vatican and the ancient bloodlines, and everything else is a system that's been put in place for, you know, for you to be controlled. So when you begin to really break down the system and understand how it works, you can see these things. If you want to learn, go to my website. You know, this is my opinion based on my research, my understanding. I love you all.